Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is R.S. Raghu and with me is Renuka, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment, and more. The headlines. Draupadi Murmu takes oath as India's 15th president, reiterates her resolve to work towards the upliftment of the marginalized, empowerment of women and the young, and inclusive growth of the country. India and Bangladesh agree to liberalize visa procedures and entry and exit norms. India strongly condemns recent killings following artillery strike in Zakho district of Kurdistan region of Iraq. Tunisian president calls for referendum for the new constitution divided. Opposition urges a boycott. 17 people died in Bahamas after a boat carrying dozens of Haitian migrants capsized. And in cricket, India defeats West Indies by 2 wickets in the second ODI at Queen's Park Oval in Port of Spain. Ms. Draupadi Murmu was sworn in as the 15th President of India today. She was administered the oath by Chief Justice of India N.V. Ramana at the Central Hall of Parliament. Speaking on the occasion, President Draupadi Murmu said, "This is the beauty of Indian democracy that a poor lady from a far-flung area has become the President."
मैं जिस पृष्ठभूमि से आती हूँ वहाँ मेरे लिए प्रारंभिक शिक्षा प्राप्त करना भी एक सपने जैसा ही था। मैं जनजातीय समाज से हूँ और वार्ड काउंसिलर से लेकर भारत की राष्ट्रपति बनने तक का अवसर मुझे मिला है। ये लोकतंत्र की जननी भारतवर्ष की महानता है। हमारे लोकतंत्र की ही शक्ति है। उसमें एक गरीब घर के पैदा होने बेटी, दूर सुदूर आदिवासी क्षेत्र में पैदा हुई बेटी भारत के सर्वोच्च संवैधानिक पद तक पहुँच सकती है। राष्ट्रपति के पद पहुंचना मेरी व्यक्तिगत उपलब्धि नहीं है, ये भारत की प्रत्येक गरीब की उपलब्धि है। वचन इस बात का सबूत है कि भारत में गरीब सपने भी देख सकता है और उन्हें पूरा भी कर सकता है।
The President reiterated her resolve to work towards the upliftment of the marginalized, empowerment of women and the young for the inclusive growth of the country. She said that in the past few years, a new energy has been infused in the country due to the decisions taken and policies formulated for women empowerment. Ms. Murmu added that she wants all sisters and daughters to be empowered more and more so that they continue to increase their contribution in every field of nation building. The President highlighted the spirit of New India and the emergence of the country as a global leader. She said, in 75 years as a parliamentary democracy, India has carried forward the resolve of progress through participation and consensus. She said, while being full of diversities, the country is engaged in the making of Ek Bharat, Shreshth Bharat, by adopting many languages, religions, sects, food habits, lifestyles and customs. Earlier in the morning, Ms. Murmu paid tribute at Rajghat in the national capital ahead of her swearing in. After that, the outgoing President Ramnath Kovind and his wife Savita extended greetings to Ms. Murmu at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla, Union Ministers, Governors, Chief Ministers, heads of diplomatic missions, members of Parliament and principal civil and military officers of the Government of India were present at the swearing-in ceremony. India and Bangladesh have agreed for a more intensive implementation of provisions under the revised travel arrangements of 2018 relating to tourist, student and business visas. During the third India-Bangladesh consular dialogue held in Dhaka on Monday, both sides agreed for further liberalization of visa procedures and entry and exit norms to enhance ease of travel. The two sides held wide-ranging discussions on mechanisms to strengthen coordination and cooperation on consular issues. These included finalization of standard operating procedures SOPs for repatriation of each other's detained nationals and early release of detained fishermen. India and Bangladesh welcomed the close cooperation between law enforcement agencies to prevent terrorism, cross-border crimes and to increase mutual legal assistance, said a press release issued by the Indian High Commission in Dhaka on Sunday. Both sides reiterated their commitment to continue to work towards citizen-centric consular mechanisms. Noting the unique friendship and special bond between the two countries, they agreed to further strengthen bilateral relations through easier and more extensive people-to-people exchanges. The next consular dialogue will be held in New Delhi. During the consular dialogue, the Indian delegation was led by Dr. Asif Saeed, Secretary CPV and OIA, while the Bangladesh delegation was led by Am Mashfi Binte Shams, Secretary East, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, MOFA. The consular dialogue mechanism was set up in 2017 to discuss and improve consular, visa and mutual legal assistance cooperation between India and Bangladesh.
Mountaineer Wasifa Nazreen became the first Bangladeshi to scale the second highest mountain peak K2 in Pakistan. She climbed the 8,611 meters or 28,251 feet high K2 mountain peak and returned to the base camp on Friday. A summit is technically complete when the climber returns back to the base camp from the peak. On completing this historic task, the 39-year-old mountaineer Wasifa paid tribute to all the known and unknown martyrs of Bangladesh, from the language movement to the liberation war. She encouraged her countrymen to take inspiration from the past and never give up. From the summit of the world's most dangerous mountain, Wasifa thanked everyone who helped her in this endeavor. Earlier, Wasifa Nazreen had climbed Mount Everest in 2012. She is the second woman from Bangladesh to do so. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle @AIR News Alerts. In Myanmar, military authorities have executed 4 democracy activists accused of helping carry out terror acts. State media today confirmed the report. It was the first executions conducted in decades in the Southeast Asian country. The executed men included democracy figure Kwa Min Yu and former lawmaker and hip-hop artist Pyo Zea Po. The 4 had been charged under the counterterrorism law and the penal code.
India strongly condemned the recent killings in the Zakho district of Kurdistan region of Iraq. New Delhi said it is a clear violation of the country's sovereignty and a blatant disregard for international humanitarian law. In a statement, External Affairs Ministry expressed condolences to the families who lost their loved ones in the attack and wished the injured a speedy recovery. India also conveyed its stand and condolences in messages inscribed today in condolence books opened by Government of Iraq in Baghdad and Embassy of Iraq in New Delhi. In the meantime, a diplomatic row has erupted between Iraq and Turkey after 9 civilians were killed when artillery shells hit a park in the Kurdistan region of Iraq. Most of the victims were Iraqi tourists and children were among the dead. At least 23 people were also injured. Local officials blamed Turkish forces and Iraq is recalling its charged papers from Ankara. Turkey is suggesting that forces belonging to the Kurdistan Workers' Party PKK carried out the strike. In today's Hotspot section, we bring you an interview on AIR News Special program on India's new president.
Draupadi Murmu took oath as 15th President of India at a ceremony in Parliament's Central Hall in New Delhi today. With this, she has become the first tribal, second woman and the youngest President of India. The oath-taking ceremony was attended by Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla, Union Ministers, Governors, Chief Ministers, Heads of Diplomatic Missions, Members of Parliament and Principal Civil and Military Officers of the Government of India. Before taking oath as President of India, Murmu paid floral tributes at the memorial of Mahatma Gandhi at Rajghat. After that, she met the outgoing President Ramnath Kovind and his wife Savita Deb and extended greetings to Ms. Murmu at Rashtrapati Bhavan. They then reached the Central Hall in a ceremonial procession. She was administered oath by Chief Justice of India N.V. Ramana. Murmu, incidentally, is also the first leader to be elected to the country's top job who was born after independence. President Draupadi Murmu said, "This is the beauty of Indian democracy, that a poor lady from a far-flung area has become the president."
मैं द्रौपदी मुर्मू
ईश्वर की शपथ लेता हूँ कि
ईश्वर की शपथ लेती हूँ कि
मैं श्रद्धापूर्वक भारत के राष्ट्रपति के पद का कार्यपालन करूंगी।
भारत के राष्ट्रपति पद का कार्यपालन करूंगी
सदा अपनी पूरी योग्यता से
तथा अपनी पूरी योग्यता से
संविधान और विधि का परिरक्षण, संरक्षण और प्रतिरक्षण करूंगी।
परिरक्षण, संरक्षण और प्रतिरक्षण करूंगी।
और मैं भारत की जनता की सेवा और कल्याण में निरत रहूंगी।
After taking the oath, Murmu delivered her first address as President of India at the Central Hall of Parliament, in which she thanked Prime Minister Narendra Modi and all the MPs and MLAs who voted for her.
भारत के सर्वोच्च संवैधानिक पद पर निर्वाचित करने के लिए मैं सभी सांसदों और सभी विधानसभा सदस्यों का हार्दिक आभार व्यक्त करती हूँ। आपका मत देश के करोड़ों नागरिकों के विश्वास की अभिव्यक्ति है। मैं भारत के समस्त नागरिकों की आशा, आकांक्षा और अधिकारों की प्रतीक इस पवित्र संसद से सभी देशवासियों का पूरी विनम्रता से अभिनंदन करता हूँ।
In her address, she also mentioned the Santhal Revolution, the Paike Revolution, the Coal Revolution and the Bhil Revolution. In her address, the new President of India also reminisced the tribal contribution to the freedom struggle and named the sacrifice of Dharti Aba, Bhagwan Birsa Munda for social upliftment and patriotism. Murmu said, I will discharge my duties with full loyalty. For me, the democratic cultural ideals of India and all the countrymen will always be the source of my energy.
मैंने अपनी जीवन यात्रा पूर्वी भारत में ओडिशा के एक छोटे से आदिवासी गांव से शुरू की थी। मैं जिस पृष्ठभूमि से आती हूँ, वहाँ मेरे लिए प्रारंभिक शिक्षा प्राप्त करना भी एक सपने जैसा ही था। लेकिन अनेक बाधाओं के बावजूद मेरा संकल्प दृढ़ रहा और मैं कॉलेज जाने वाली अपने गांव की पहली बेटी। मैं जनजातीय समाज से हूँ और वार्ड काउंसिलर से लेकर भारत की राष्ट्रपति बनने तक का अवसर मुझे मिला है। ये लोकतंत्र की जननी भारतवर्ष की महानता है। ये हमारे लोकतंत्र की ही शक्ति है कि उसमें एक गरीब घर के पैदा होने बेटी, दूर सुदूर आदिवासी क्षेत्र में पैदा हुई बेटी भारत के सर्वोच्च संवैधानिक पद तक पहुंचा। पूज्य बापू ने हमें स्वराज, स्वदेशी, स्वच्छता और सत्याग्रह द्वारा भारत के सांस्कृतिक आदर्शों की स्थापना का मार्ग दिखाया था। नेताजी सुभाष चंद्र बोस, नेहरू जी, सरदार पटेल, बाबा साहेब अम्बेडकर, भगत सिंह, सुखदेव, राजगुरु, चंद्रशेखर आजाद जैसे अनगिनत स्वाधीनता सेनानियों ने हमें राष्ट्र की स्वाभिमान को सर्वोपरि रखने की शिक्षा दी थी। रानी लक्ष्मीबाई, रानी वेलु नाचियार, रानी गाईदिन्लु और रानी चेन्निमा जैसी अनेकों वीरांगनाओं ने राष्ट्र इच्छा और राष्ट्र निर्माण में नारी शक्ति की भूमिका को नई ऊर्जा दी है। संथाल क्रांति, पाइक क्रांति से लेकर कोल क्रांति और भील क्रांति ने स्वतंत्रता संग्राम में आदिवासी योगदान को और सशक्त किया। सामाजिक उत्थान एवं देश प्रेम के लिए धरती आबा भगवान बिरसा मुंडा जी के बलिदान से हमें प्रेरणा मिली थी।
Ms. Murmu reiterated her resolve towards upliftment of the marginalized, empowerment of women and the young for the inclusive growth of the country, saying that in the past few years, a new energy has been infused in the country due to the decisions taken and policies formulated for women's empowerment. Ms. Murmu added that she wants all sisters and daughters to be empowered more and more so that they can continue to increase their contribution in every field of nation building. Ms. Murmu highlighted the spirit of New India and the emergence of the country as a global leader. The President said, in 75 years as a parliamentary democracy, India has carried forward the resolve of progress through participation and consensus. She said, while being full of diversities, the country is engaged in making of Ek Bharat Shresth Bharat by adopting many languages, religion, food habits, lifestyles and customs. She added, the Amrit Kal, which commences with the 75th year of independence, is a period of new resolutions for India. She said, in these 25 years, the path to attain the goals of Amrit Kal will proceed on two tracks. Sabka Prayas or Sabka Kartavya, Ms. Murmu said. The new development journey towards the bright future of India has to be undertaken by the collective efforts following the path of duty. She said the country has elected her when the country is celebrating the 75th year of independence.
राष्ट्रपति के रूप में देश ने एक ऐसे महत्वपूर्ण कालखंड में चुना है जो हम अपनी आजादी का अमृत महोत्सव मना रहे हैं। आज से कुछ दिन बाद ही देश अपनी स्वाधीनता के 75 वर्ष पूरी करेगा। ये भी एक संयोग है कि जो देश अपनी आजादी के 50वें वर्ष का पर्व मना रहा था तभी मेरे राजनीतिक जीवन की शुरुआत हुई थी और आज आजादी के 75वें वर्ष में मुझे ये नया दायित्व मिला है।
The President greeted the nation on the eve of Kargil Divas, saying that this day is a symbol of courage of country's armed forces. She also remembered the contribution of freedom fighters and stressed the need to speed up efforts to meet expectations that India's freedom fighters had with the citizens of independent India.
26 जुलाई को कारगिल विजय दिवस भी है। ये दिन भारत की सेनाओं के शौर्य और संयम दोनों का ही प्रतीक है। मैं आज देश की सेनाओं को तथा देश के समस्त नागरिकों को कारगिल विजय दिवस की अग्रिम शुभकामनाएं देती हूँ।
Appreciating the efforts of the country during the COVID pandemic, she said, administering 200 crore vaccine doses to the people of the country is a big achievement. And now let's have a look at the journey of President Draupadi Murmu. The 64-year-old is the youngest president of the country. She is also the first president of India who is born after independence. Ms. Murmu joined politics in 1997 and was elected councillor in Rairangpur Notified Area Council of Odisha. She served twice as an MLA from Rairangpur Assembly constituency from 2000 to 2009 and once as a Minister of Commerce, Transport, Fisheries and Animal Resources Development in Odisha government. On 18th May 2015, Ms. Murmu took oath as Governor of Jharkhand and stayed in the post till 12th July last year. She was the first woman governor of the state and the first female tribal leader to serve as a governor in the Indian state. Murmu became a member of the Council of Ministers in the BJP and Biju Janata Dal coalition government in Odisha, first becoming the Minister of State with independent charge for commerce and transportation from March 2000 to August 2002, and then Minister of Fisheries and Animal Resources Development from August 2002 to May 2004. A legislator from the Rairangpur Assembly constituencies in the years 2000 and 2004. She was conferred Neelkanta Award for the Best MLA by the Odisha Assembly in 2007. In 2015, Murmu became the first woman governor of Jharkhand. She also became the first tribal leader from Odisha to be appointed as the governor of the state. During her political career, her husband, Shyamcharan Murmu, a banker, died of a heart attack in 2014. She also lost both her sons in just 4 years. Murmu devoted her life to serving society, empowering the poor, downtrodden and marginalized sections of society. She has rich administrative experience and an outstanding gubernatorial tenure in Jharkhand. Murmu has made a special identity in public life by spreading awareness about education in tribal society and serving the public for a long time as a public representative. With Draupadi Murmu occupying the highest office of the country, India has made yet another great stride towards empowerment of the socially backward section of the society that she belongs.
Tunisians voted on Monday on a new constitution which critiques of President Kais Saied fear will dismantle the democratic gains of the 2011 revolution by handing him nearly total power, with analysts expecting it to pass amid a low turnout. The vote is being held on the first anniversary of Said's ousting of an elected parliament when he established emergency rule and began governing by fiat. The divided opposition has urged a boycott, calling Saeed's moves a coup that risks flinging Tunisia back into the autocratic era from before the revolution and putting the final nail into the coffin of the 2011 Arab Spring uprisings. Under Saeed's own rules for the referendum, no minimum level of participation is needed to approve the new constitution. They only stipulate it will come into effect once the final results are published and do not say what happens if voters reject it. However, while nearly all major political parties and civil society organizations have denounced his unilateral approach to rewriting the constitution and legitimacy of the referendum, they have failed to build a united front. 17 people died after a boat carrying dozens of Caribbean country Haiti migrants capsized off the coast of the Bahamas. Authorities said that rescue teams recovered the bodies of 17 people, including an infant, and 25 people were rescued. The Bahamas police said the boat capsized some 11 kilometers off the island of New Providence. According to police, up to 60 people may have been on board, and more people were presumed missing. Bahamian authorities said that 2 people were taken into custody, both from the Bahamas, over the suspected human smuggling operation. All those on board recovered alive or dead or who were still missing were believed to be migrants from Haiti. The Bahamas is a frequent transit route for Haitians seeking to reach the United States.
In France, government ordered that shops will be closed doors when using air conditioning and limit neon lighting in a bid to cut energy waste. Minister of Ecological Transition Agnès Pannier-Runacher told these rules already in place in some areas will be rolled out across France. She further said there will be issue to decrease on energy waste in the coming days. According to these rules, shops will be fined up to €750 for breaking the air conditioning rule. Energy costs in Europe have spiraled since the Russia-Ukraine conflict started. Local media reports the ban on neon signs is already in force in areas with a population under 800,000. Airports and stations are exempt. France continues to experience extreme hot weather, increasing demand for air conditioning. Russia has charged 92 members of the Ukrainian armed forces with the crimes against humanity. The head of Russia's investigative committee, Alexander Bastryakin, has said that more than 1,300 criminal investigations had been launched. He also proposed an international tribunal backed by countries including Bolivia, Iran and Syria. Some 96 people, including 51 armed forces commanders, are wanted, he said. Local media reports that Russian investigators have identified over 220 people, including from the Ukrainian military high command, involved in the shelling of Donbass. On the other hand, Ukraine is also conducting its own investigation. This month, it said it was examining more than 21,000 war crimes and crimes of aggression allegedly committed by Russian forces since the start of the military operation in February. On February 21st, Russian President Vladimir Putin announced recognizing the sovereignty of the Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republics.
In cricket, India defeated West Indies by 2 wickets in the second ODI at Queen's Park Oval in Port of Spain last night to take a 2-0 lead in the 3-match series. India achieved the victory target of 312 runs in 49.4 overs over the loss of 8 wickets. The third and final ODI will be played on Wednesday at Queen's Park Oval in Port of Spain. The match will start at 7 p.m. Indian time. At the stock markets, snapping 6 days of gains, both the key indices ended with minor losses today, but the rupee ended modestly higher against the dollar. In the international market, the Brent crude oil traded about $104 a barrel, a report from the business desk.
At the stock markets, the Sensex at the Bombay Stock Exchange lost 306 points or 0.6% to close at 55,766 today. Nifty at the National Stock Exchange slipped 88 points or 0.5% to 16,631. At the global stock markets, Asian markets ended mostly lower today. So Japan's Nikkei 225 index fell 0.8%, China's Shanghai Composite Index dropped 0.6%, and Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index shed 0.2%, and Singapore's Straits Times Index ended marginally lower, but South Korea's Kospi Index rose 0.4%. In Europe, key indices, London's FTSE 100 had gained 0.2%, France's CAC 40 had moved up 0.4%, and Germany's DAX had inched up 0.3% in intraday trade.
Global crude oil prices rose today as the market balanced supply fears with expectations that rise in the U.S. interest rates would weaken fuel demand. So the Brent crude futures for September settlement rose 79 cents to trade at 103.99 a barrel. The U.S. crude futures advanced 82 cents to $95.52 a barrel. And at the forex market, the rupee appreciated 13 paise to 79 rupees and 73 paise against the dollar. This is Lalema Aneja Dang for World News, All India Radio.
Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. First, we have a look at the press reports on China. AFP writes Rishi Sunak promised to get tough on China if he becomes the UK's next Prime Minister, labelling the Asian superpower the biggest long-term threat to Britain. The former finance minister's pledge comes after his rival in the final two of the race to lead the ruling Conservative Party, Liz Truss, accused him of being weak on China and Russia. Bloomberg writes, China's deepening property bust is sending shockwaves through the nation's 400 million strong middle class, appending the belief that real estate is a surefire way to build wealth. Now let's have a look at the press reports on Nepal. The Himalayan Times reports the new citizenship bill passed by the House of Representatives will enable children of citizens by birth, children born to Nepali mothers whose fathers cannot be traced, children born to Nepali mothers from marriage with foreign citizens but domiciled in Nepal, and non-resident Nepalis to obtain Nepali citizenship. The new bill will also enable sexual and gender minorities to mention their gender identity as per their sexual orientation.
Now let's have a look at the press reports from Pakistan. The Daily Times reports the prevailing monsoon effects spreading across the country have increased the risk of urban flooding in mega-urban centres as heavy downpour further lashed out various parts of the country. The Daily Times writes Provincial Disaster Management Authority (PDMA) on Sunday reported 2 people died and 5 others injured in rain-related incidents during the last 24 hours in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. 15 houses have been destroyed completely while 35 were damaged partially. Now let's have a look at the press reports from Balochistan. The Balochistan Post writes that protests were held in Turbat and the provincial capital Quetta on Saturday against the alleged fake encounter on Baloch missing persons by the Pakistani security forces in Ziyarat. The families of the victims have staged a 3-day-long sit-in protest in front of the governor's house in Quetta and warned that if the culprits of the Ziyarat incident are not brought to justice, the protest will be expanded throughout Balochistan indefinitely. The Balochistan Post writes in Balochistan's coastal city of Gwadar, unknown persons had targeted the forces in a grenade attack. As per the report, the forces are suffering losses in this attack, but this has not yet been confirmed by the authorities.
And now a quick look at the headlines once again. Draupadi Murmu takes oath as India's 15th president, reiterates her resolve to work towards the upliftment of the marginalized, empowerment of women and the young, and inclusive growth of the country. India and Bangladesh agree to liberalize visa procedures and entry and exit norms. India strongly condemns recent killings following artillery strike in Zakho district of Kurdistan region of Iraq. Tunisian president calls for referendum for the new constitution. Divided opposition urges a boycott. 17 people die in the Bahamas after a boat carrying dozens of Haitian migrants capsized. And in cricket, India defeats West Indies by 2 wickets in the second ODI at Queen's Park Oval in Port of Spain. And now, before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Belarus. And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.
News.